Hi, I'm Dale Willis, and you probably know me by now. And so, just want to thank you for tuning in to one more session of our Standing in the Gap. And have the opportunity today to have a really good friend on with us. And his name is Victor Jordan, and most of you know him through the Vision newspaper. And I'm just real excited because I've known Victor. We've known each other since we were little guys. I knew of him when we were little guys at Cabrillo High School. And then later in life, we got to know each other and became very, very good friends. So I'm real excited to have Victor on the show with us and talk about him because he's done some really, really fantastic things. And I'd like to, kind of get into that and illuminate some of those things and share with you. And here's a guy that, I just have a great deal of respect for. And I don't even know how to tell you how excited I am to have him on the show. Welcome, Victor.
That's great to see you, Dale, as always.
Yeah, you bet, you bet. So just before we get going, I want to give a shout out. For those of you, both Victor and I, as I told you, went to Cabrillo High School. And the Alumni Association at Cabrillo High School has been operating informally for about 7 years. And they now are formalizing and becoming a full nonprofit organization. So there's going to be a meeting on the 17th of May at Cabrillo High School in the library. So anyone who's interested, who's graduated from Cabrillo and has wondered and want to be a part of supporting the school and the current student bodies and so on, you should come and take out a membership, sit in on that meeting. We will be going over the minutes and organizing and electing officers and getting it underway formally. Like I said, it's been operating informally, but now has reached a place where it's maturing and becoming formal. So show up. All you got to do is show up and be prepared to take out a membership. They're not expensive, and once you take out a membership, that'll give you the rights to vote, and there will be voting for the officers, nominations and voting at that meeting. So you're now aware, and we'll look forward to seeing you all the Cabrillo supporters out there. All right. So Victor, I just look at you and I say, man, my buddy. But you came here from England.
Yes, in '64, and by way of my stepfather. He was in the Air Force and he got stationed at Vandenberg. So that's how we got here. And one of the first things that I did when I got here and started going through the school system in junior high school, actually too, I didn't know this back then. I didn't find out till the 80s that my real father was a artist for Disney.
Oh, really?
And so I was wondering where I got all this.
Where did you get your...
Yeah. So one of the first things that I did when I came to this country, I went to Lompoc Junior High School, and I went into the library to find out what a commercial artist made. And I've been doing it ever since.
And that's something, I want to talk about your art, but first I want to kind of talk about what a novel young man you were, because you were unique in that you're African American, but you had this accent.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was funny. Because most people, during that course of time, civil rights and all of that, they didn't know where to put me. So I was in a strange place with the people here because, of course, the civil rights, I wasn't sounding black, I wasn't sounding white, but they thought I was trying to be that, and they didn't realize. And even had a couple of people tell me, well, there's no blacks in England. And I went, oh, well, that's not exactly true.
Not exactly true. And you still have a little bit of that accent now. I mean, when you talk, it's not as pronounced as it was when you first came here, but still.
It's kind of a mixed up. Now people think I'm either from the islands somewhere, Jamaica or something like that. And I don't know where that comes from.
Makes you kind of an exotic guy, You were quite athletic in high school too.
I loved athletics. Football, I learned a little bit about.
Because football wasn't first nature to you when you first came.
No, but when I started my traveling, and I was living in Visalia. I played a little semi-pro.
Oh, really?
And I believe that it was a farm team for Green Bay.
Oh, okay.
And but I was so much into traveling and this and that. I didn't stay there for very long. You know, so.
Well, I know you were fast.
Yeah,
and you could jump like that.
Yeah. I really got into the high jumping.
Right.
Dick Fosbury in the Olympics had invented that style. And I eventually got beat by him in college at the track meet. Yeah, I had to jump. I finished out at 6'10", and he started at 6'10".
6'10" was that's quite a jump back then, wasn't it?
Well, yeah. I think I had the record over here in Lompoc from about 1969 to 1980 something.
Yeah, and when you kind of started using that Fosbury jump, they didn't want you to do it, right? They were kind of getting on you about it.
I had seen that. I had seen.
That's where you do the back. It's for people that don't know. You jump over backwards. You flop over.
And now everyone does that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I believe that they just didn't know how to coach it. So I remember trying it for the first time in after practice, and I got called into the coach the next day, and he said, well, I heard that you were flopping in practice yesterday. I said, yes, I was. And he says, well, we got the Lompoc relays coming up, and I don't want you to flop in that. And I didn't say anything. And the next day during the meet, I'm already in the competition. I had already actually won the competition. And the coach came and stood next to me and said, well, I thought we had decided that you were not going to flop in this meet. And I said, no, Coach, you decided that.
Oh, boy.
You know, and so he said, okay, keep doing it, but you'll never get any higher. And by the end of I won at 6'10" that day, but by the end of the year, I did 6'10" in high school. So.
In high school?
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. 6'10", like I said, that was quite a jump. And so, like you said, you're quite an artist. I remember when I first came back here, you had a display of some of your art in the historical museum.
Oh, yeah.
Downstairs, there was a whole line of your art.
I believe that was for Black History Month.
Black History Month, yeah.
By the now, it was the Arcturus Club.
Yeah, Club Arcturus, that's
Club
right.
Arcturus.
Yeah.
And I had a show there. They had asked me, so that was fun. That was the first show I'd done in a long time.
Yeah.
Most of my shows were in Los Angeles or Hollywood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and are you still doing a lot of art?
No, not anymore, because the pay that I would get for doing the work in Hollywood was quite a bit different than I found that I could get here in Lompoc. So I went on to make some of my other artistic endeavors more pronounced.
Yeah, yeah, and so that's where we kind of moved to your, I guess you would call it your flagship, which is the Vision newspaper. Well, is that am I right in saying?
Well, first, before the Vision, I had already started for a couple of years doing the freelance graphics for different companies in Lompoc. And at one point, I was doing all the graphics for the Chumash Casino out here in Santa Ynez for about 6 years. And while it was, as they were starting to grow, they started bringing in other entities and I'm not a corporate guy. I'm an artist by trade, so I tend to think more out of the box than in the box. So at that point I started, and that was about 2003, I started with the idea of creating a paper, since I was looking through the paper all the time and I couldn't find things to do. Right. And I knew there were things to do, but I never saw them reflected. So what I did is I created a dummy newspaper and I took it around to the different merchants in Lompoc to find out if they would support an endeavor like that, free of politics and free of negativity. And again, I've used this analogy before, but all of the response was positive except for one who said, well, who's going to back you? And I said, what do you mean? He says, well, you can't start a newspaper without a backer. And I said, I just came, I just came into your office. You've never seen me before. You have no idea of my capabilities. Right. And he says, well, if you can bring a full-on newspaper and put it on my desk, I'll always advertise with you. And it was 3 weeks later that I actually did that and asked him whether he was going to pay in check or cash. And so it's like not putting limits on myself. I've never really done that. I've thought it through creatively, and anything that I've wanted to do, I've done. Whether it's be a line of, when I used to be a bodybuilder in Hollywood, whether it was a line of women's sportswear creating and have it nationally distributed, or whether it was lithographs, same nationally distributed, or doing portraits for celebrities. And that one was the biggie, because I got to do portraits for the likes of Michael Jackson, David Hasselhoff, Mel Gibson, Arsenio.
Yeah.
And
some of those are some of the pictures you had on display.
Right. Well, I had a few of them.
I think Michael Jackson.
I might have had the Michael Jackson one on there, a copy of that. But I got to meet so many people doing that, because I would always get invited to some of their celebrations at their homes, and where the piece was right there, and other celebrities that were at the party or whatever would ask who did it, and they'd bring them over to me, and then I'd do work for them. So that I did from 70s till 2004 when I came back here.
Yeah, which this is actually Richard. I'm thinking of another gentleman, Victor. This is actually why I was excited to have you on the show, because you're somebody who took your talents, your skills, and you made something happen. And I see so many people who who just they can't get a job, or they haven't got a job, or they're looking for help from the government or whatever the case might be. But you're a guy who took your talent, took your skill, believed in yourself, and you've put some things together that are phenomenal.
I always put myself in scenarios like where I could learn. I'm a perpetual student. That's all I do, is I'm learning, and it's exciting to me to learn. I'm learning every day. And it's easier now with the advent of the computer, because Google is my best friend. Anything I want to learn, whether it's website design, whether anything, I can find all the information I need, and then I just apply it.
Yeah, I've seen you do that. I've seen you take something that, and I've kind of been with you, and where you kind of hear about something, and the next time I see you, you've got information, and you're kind of starting to how do you find out all that information? And then you're actually in the process.
Well, that really helped me. That philosophy really helped me at the casino, because even though I'd been in graphics for years and years, and that's why they asked me to do that job, there was things that they asked me to create that I hadn't had any experience on. And so they would ask me, can we do this? And I don't see why not. And then I'd investigate it and bring it done. I call it, I victorize them.
Yeah, I've heard that term many times. Yeah. So now let's talk about the vision. You put that together here in Lompoc, and you've got a tremendous circulation, both online and the actual newspaper, which is really odd, because as I understand it, the newspaper industry is moving more and more away from the print to online, and you are thriving with both print and online.
Yeah, there's an absolute reason for that, and I don't know why other people don't jump on it. It's because I stay with my own community. As with the advent of computers, where you can get all that information online, and Facebook especially. Anything going on, you can find out. So why pick up a newspaper? So this generation is not really used to looking at a newspaper. Back when it was thriving, you had the Cleaver family sitting at breakfast, reading the newspaper, and June over here cooking up. But now the family, for the most part, doesn't even sit for breakfast anymore. They're all doing their own thing, and it's always on the phone or this and that.
Which is unfortunate.
Yeah, and so when I realized that this could be a central location for all information Lompoc, I've turned down a lot of money from people outside of Lompoc that understand that and want Lompoc audience, and I turn it down. So it's, and I'm read my my demographic, not my demographics, the reports I get from the website say 20 different countries are reading this paper monthly.
Is that right?
Yeah, I always look at my demographics and my reports, and it'll tell me the ages between this and age, whether it's male or female.
Yeah, and you get a crazy number of hits.
Right.
Will you track them monthly or daily, or how do you track the hits?
I go more into, because I am thinking locally more so, there's two different reports I get, analytics it's called. I can get it from the website or the emails that I send out. I send out about 2,700 emails twice a month to the community, and whoever chooses to be on my email list by clicking on the website, little opt-in that's there. And I can tell every name who does it. I actually got an email last week from France.
Wow.
And so in order to actually even read the email, I had to copy it and put it in a translator, a Google Translator, to even find out what they were talking about. It was in French, you know. So I get that.
You actually had to get it translated, and so amazing.
So it's amazing how I believe that the community has come to count on that. So it's a totally different model, you know, a totally different model than the standard newspaper. Even as far as when you talk about the Sun or the Independent, it's a totally different model, and it's advertised totally differently. I get my news totally differently. So
and your header is good news you can use. You can use,
that's all
which is
people
what
want.
it is.
Good news you can use. You know?
That's powerful, and it's. I mean, it's everywhere you go. The paper is there. The vision is there, and so the people in the community and people that are concerned about the community maybe have moved away and what have you. They use it to keep up with what's happening in the community as well.
Well, you know, with the model of the vision being good news you can use, it's not to eliminate the knowledge that there is bad stuff that goes on out there, but I'm not going to perpetuate it. It's all about spirit to me. And you're trying to uplift the spirit. And so when that's why people don't read the paper anymore. It's because they don't want that negative in their lives. Life is tough enough.
You bet.
You don't have to read about it.
You bet it is. Now, all of the paper, what is the circulation?
5,000.
5,000, it's a huge circulation.
For Lompoc.
Yeah, for Lompoc. And how many employees do you have?
2.
Oh, it's 2.
My CEO.
Oh, okay.
And myself.
That's right. You always acknowledge. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, but and that's a good thing to hear that you do acknowledge your CEO. But now all of the work that's done to bring this paper to product on the street, including the distribution of it, you do that yourself.
Well, there's not a lot of experience in the people in the field that I chose. So I would have to find. Now, when I first started the paper in 2003, I didn't have the luxury of reporters because I didn't have money for that kind of stuff. So I made the community my reporters. So that's how I started the email address contact list. And so as they add on, I get all the time people that want to be part of that and input information into the vision. So that took care of that, because when I started, I had to actually go out there and find the news and then type in 32 pages of information. And that was not fun. It was 16-hour days every day. You know, I was single then, so it was 7 days a week.
We do want to get to the fact that you're married too, but let me, and I don't want to put this in front of the marriage just because I know that's a very big part of your life. But you also, you know, you used to talk about a magazine. You know, as the paper was being, you know, was your main thing, and you used to talk about a magazine, and you now developed a magazine which you also produce yourself. Share with us a little bit about the magazine.
Well, both of these models, Lompoc basically has had not a positive reputation, and I understand exactly why. It's because of the media. The only thing that would go out there was negativity.
Right.
So as I created the newspaper and brought out all the positivity for Lompoc, I felt that there should be something for the people outside of Lompoc. So I created a tourism guide, the Lompoc Valley Tourism Guide, and that's going the last part of 3 years.
Yeah.
So
and that's in every hotel and
all the hotels, and I get calls from actually Santa Barbara. I get calls if I could take them over to Buellton because there's people coming in from all over. I actually got a call from some gentleman in Las Vegas. He said he had been in Lompoc a couple of years ago and had picked up this tourism guide, and he's getting ready to come back again, and where could he pick it up? And so I said, well, you can go to the chamber or the city or something. He said, well, we're here. I want to get my itinerary before I come to Lompoc. And I said, well, are you next to your computer? And he says, yes. And I said, I guided him to the page where it's got a copy of each of the tourism guides. And that's an important aspect of the vision because for the Air Force Base here, there's people coming in all the time. There's people leaving but loved it here. And they want to keep up with Lompoc. So I've created a website where you can see every issue of everything for a year. So if you're moving a family all the way from Nebraska to Lompoc, and you don't know anything, it takes a long time for people to learn. But while they're there, they know about 3 to 6 months before they move here that they are going to be coming here, and they can learn about our churches, they can learn about our schools, they can learn about our festivals, you know. So it's an opportunity for them to really get excited and not be so scared about moving or visiting Lompoc.
Yeah, it's phenomenal what you've done, you know, you've been able to take, like I said earlier, you've been able to take ideas and your own creativity and your CEO, your faith in your CEO, and you've been able to create something that thousands of people benefit from.
It's that spirit that is the miraculous aspect, and I count on that because it's nothing I could have done myself, you know, because typically people make decisions based on their experience, and that's where sometimes things fall a little bit. But if I concentrate on the spirit, the Spirit has no limitations.
Exactly right.
We put limitations on ourselves,
that's right.
But the Spirit has none. So that's what I count on. If I have an idea, it's there for a reason. And if the idea is there, there's no reason why it can't be implemented. That's my philosophy.
That's a good one.
You know?
That's a good one. And along with that, you know, when we first were working together with the Lompoc Valley Community Youth Center, you were on our board. And you helped, and we tried to do some things there and tried to make that work. And I see a lot of young kids that used to come to the center, you know, when you were on the board, and they're now in high school and so on. And
time goes by
see
fast.
them at high school. Yeah, they're graduating and stuff. And so there was a lot of good that was done, you know, through that process. And I see you still are active in the community. You're a board member of the YMCA.
Yeah, I was asked. I didn't know it was for so long. Right now, I'm getting ready to I've been in there for 3 years. I had no idea. And they just asked me they asked me to be on the board, and now they just asked me to re-up. Of course, So I had a marketing committee for the Y.
That's great. I mean, it's a great service you're doing in the community. And once again, I just think that your life and what you've done in this community is an inspiration. It certainly is an inspiration to me. And I think I'm glad we're able to tell it because people that hear it are going to be inspired. Hey, take that idea, take that energy.
Well, it's what you do.
Something with.
It's what you do. You realize the fact that you're here to inspire people. And when people talk about witnessing, it's people witness your life and ask you questions about your life. So we have the same job.
Yeah.
You know, we just are supposed to have different ways of going. Well, we're doing the same thing.
Yeah, but I'm interviewing you. But let's. I don't want to miss. I think we got a couple minutes. I don't want to miss what I know has lifted you even higher, because I knew you before you got married. I know you now. I see you now, and you're even more vibrant. There's somebody new in your life.
Yeah, the Spirit brought me a gift. And we met 4 years ago, and we got married on January 17th. And we're getting ready to buy our house now, and she's inspiration too to what she is put here to do. And she's very good. She works in mental health, and she's very good at what she does. She's very proficient, and she's loved by her clients. You know, and as actually right now she's in Oxnard. Finishing up a course to even take that further. So great. I'm really proud of her. But she's brought a lot to me.
And her name is?
Sharala.
Sharala
Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan. That's good. That's great. So you're from England, and she's from South Africa.
South Africa.
And it's just neat to see that you are just moving on, and life is, I won't say a bowl of cherries for you, but it's certainly something that
it's a lot more interesting these days. You know, the cum lottery that I get from the community and friends like you, that's where I get fed spiritually.
Good. You know? Now, you know, we're about down to the end of the show, and I always like to wrap the show up by asking my guest, because my concern is our community and the absence of the activity of men taking their role in our community, and that's why the show is Men's Discipleship. I'd like for you to share maybe a little bit with our audience what your views are when men don't step up to their role in the community. How does that impact the community?
Well, when you, I grew up without a father, so I can speak on that. Luckily for me, I got into the Spirit at a very, very young age, but the average person needs to be inspired, needs to know how to go about doing things, they need a path. And if at that young age they don't have that inspiration, look what's happening because of it. You know, I just think it is the most important thing. There needs to be, you know, a family unit, and it's so fragmented at this point. And a man can be the leader of his castle, not to walk in front of, but walk with
truly
his family.
A leader, a true meaning of a leader.
And without that,
you
know, it's kind of lost.
Well, thank you, Victor. We're running out of time, but you know, I really appreciate you coming on the show, and I want to encourage you to continue doing the kind of things that you're doing, and bringing them public now and sharing with other young people, because you know what? At these schools, at Lompoc High School, Cabrillo, some of the other schools around the country, there's another young man just like you were that has ideas and energy, and they can be inspired by a guy like you.
And he needs to know that all things are possible.
Exactly. Exactly right.
And that's how we inspire.
That's right. Exactly. We got to have you back on.
Thank you
so much.
It's always a pleasure.
All right.